Hello? There we go. Yeah, I know I'm live. I'm just waiting on everybody. Well, there's one. Howdy, sir.
What's up, dude? How you been?
Been all right. You?
Good, man. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, why's my lighting look so buttery? I look smooth.
I got the sun going down in my little window right here, so it's highlighting my terrible hairline.
Bro, your hairline is strong, dude.
Oh, yes.
You got the forward march, dude.
Yeah. The power alleys.
Yeah, dude. There was a guy I used to work with at this music store over in Tampa, and he was holding on to his hair for a while, and finally, me and this other guy were like, "Bro, grow the beard, let it come in real full, and just take a Bic razor to your hair." And he's like, "I can't, dude." I was like, "You got to do it." And so finally, we pressured him, and he just took it all off, let the beard come in, and he's like, "Dude, I wish I would have done that years ago. I feel like a damn Viking." I'm like, "Yeah, dude." It's like Kratos.
I want to see Trump grow out a full beard and shave his head. I think he'd look like a freaking
dude. Yeah, man.
Can you imagine that?
Woo!
I think I've seen a meme like that once or twice. It's like, honestly, he should just go for it, and it was like power move.
Bro, yeah, dude. He looked like Alex Jones looks now, man. Strong.
Yeah, right.
What's up,
What's
boys?
up, Jeff? Dang, dude, you look like a damn Ewok.
Is that the right sound they make? I don't remember what sound they make.
Yeah, that's it. Let's see.
What's up, bros?
Nothing new.
We're
There
already
you go.
live, eh?
Here.
Fucking amateur, dude. Hold up, let me pull the live stream up here.
There you go. Look at that.
Oh, come on, dude. He'd look amazing.
You'd be like, F with me, I'll bomb your entire city.
Yeah, when's the last time we had a tough looking president, dude?
Right.
You know, like Roosevelt, maybe with the little eyepiece.
Maybe, yeah.
Teddy, big mustache and the monocle. Yeah, dude.
I don't know, man. Clinton was playing the saxophone, bro. That's
cool.
That's
cool.
Sick, dude. Yeah.
That was cool. But I'm like tough looking, where you're just like a I don't know. Putin's all right looking. All the world leaders are pretty soft looking now that I'm thinking about it. I mean, you got Kim Jong, who's like, that guy looks crazy.
Barack is black
with his crazy haircut and his squishy body.
Yeah. Yeah, he's intimidating in another way. He's not.
Jake, is your microphone working, bro?
Yeah.
I hear him.
Why? What's up?
Oh, maybe it's just. Say something, Kramer.
Hello.
Oh, you're just jacked. That's what it is.
Oh, I can turn myself down. Am I peaking?
Yeah, you're cranked.
Let me come down a little bit.
Cranked.
Sorry. This is less than 50%, guys.
Dang, you just got that great microphone.
I got a hot mic.
That's right.
Heat on the mic.
I saved up my money when I was 17, got myself a Shure 7B.
There you go.
What, that was like $400, $500 mic or something.
They're like Arizona iced teas, dude. They've been the same price forever.
Arizona's went up.
They did? They're not 99 cents no more?
No.
But the stores jack them.
The stores. Well, I've seen on the can they got like the dollar. Now it's $1. It's not 99 cents. It's $1.
Oh.
But then now you have to add the tax.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
it was 99 cents. Now it's $1.07 in Florida. So
Inflation, baby. That's Biden for you. Could you imagine, like, that's what they start talking about? Like, price of eggs are going up. Arizona iced teas are like 7 cents more than they used to be.
Yeah, right.
We got to get those ATs down, dude.
That's right. What happened to 99-cent Arizona iced teas? It's ridiculous.
it's true, bro. You guys, what are we talking about? Are we going to talk about this pyramid shenanigans, dude?
Yeah. All
Dude,
right.
let's go.
You ready to
Those
get
things
started
been
on this?
messing me up, dude.
All right.
So does everybody know what happened?
Well,
like what
hold
they
on,
Are we
said
live?
what
Hold
they
on, hold
saw?
on. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been live, bro.
Welcome back to Infinite Rabbit Hole and Shadowban Podcast. We're doing a swap cast today. Jeremy's not here. He's actually on vacation to the Dominican Republic, where I hear that on his first visit, his I guess entry into the Dominican Republic in the airport, he got punched in the face by a lady because he accidentally bumped her with his kid's was it like a car seat? He was wearing it like a backpack and bumped into her, and she turned around and slammed him right in the face. And he said that she hit like a girl, and then he was outnumbered like 4-1, and then their male counterparts rushed in just in case he were to strike back at her, and somehow he evaded the situation. So he's obviously having a great time there in the Dominican. We wish him a happy time. Hopefully he can get some relaxation in, less punches to the face, and hopefully he's not focused on the podcast the entire time, because I know that's what he likes to do. But anyway, we are joined today by Jeff and Creamer from Shadowban. Gentlemen, how are you doing? Whoever wants to go first.
Bro, did you give my last name out like that?
Huh?
Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Oh, shut up.
The government knows where I'm at, dude.
His mom's maiden name, social security number, and favorite pet growing up was a dog named Toodles.
Whoa. Hey, dude.
Yeah.
I'm just
How did I
kidding.
know, right? How did I know?
You worked for PayPal, dude?
Yeah,
Part of the
right.
PayPal mafia?
Yeah. How you doing, Creamer?
Doing good, man. I don't know. There's been a lot going on, and in the conspiracy world, it's been just messing me up.
Well, there you go. Jeff, how you doing?
What? I'm good, bro. I'm tired. Tired, bro. Work. Somebody's got to pay the defense budget, you know. And I'm out
Someone's
here
got to fund
doing my
USAID, dude.
Yeah.
doing my part.
Oh, geez. The only good slush fund is a dead slush fund. I'm doing my part.
Heck yeah, dude.
Sorry about the lighting today. I have the sun going down, and
Yeah,
I don't
sick
have a
lighting,
curtain
dude.
for this window, so it's highlighting. As we were talking about earlier, it's highlighting my power alleys in my head. Put a hat on, so no one looks at it.
You
But
looking
soon
like
it'll
this,
be
bro.
directly in my face, so I'll be looking at you all like this. But,
The ultimate directed energy weapon, the sun.
that's right. It's getting me. But yeah, no, my weekend's been good. I processed 40 gallons of maple sap yesterday and turned it into syrup, and then shipped that out to my parents and brothers and one of my friends. It cost $90 to ship 4 pint-sized bottles of syrup, 5 pint-sized bottles of syrup.
And you didn't send me any.
Nope. You got to come up here and get it yourself.
Son of a
So,
bitch. I'm not flying anywhere, bro. All these DEI fucking air traffic
know.
controllers.
I don't
and
know how that's
pilots,
going to
dude.
work out. Like I was telling Jeremy on his way to the airport that I hope his plane doesn't crash because of DEI.
Oh,
He's like, wow, that's my number one fear at this moment. I was like, yeah, you'll probably be fine, or you won't, whatever.
I think you and I had that same conversation when you were driving me to the airport. You looked at me and you said something like, "If you die, you die," and I was like, "Yep."
And then I prayed for you. I prayed for that you'd have a safe
did.
flight and stuff like that.
You
But
did
left
indeed,
you
but-
left you with that little bit of like maybe the plane goes down today. Maybe I'm that 1%.
Yeah,
And
it definitely
everyone-
enhanced my fear of dying because I was like, wow, I actually prayed before getting on this plane, which means I'm definitely dying on this plane now because that's how it works.
Yeah.
You know, it would be crazy if you survived the plane flight and then on your way leaving the airport, a plane crashes and it blows up your car.
He lands okay, but as he's leaving, up another plane
Yeah.
hits.
Yeah.
It's like I survived, but the guy behind me, not
Yeah,
so
yeah.
much. Yeah, that would stink.
Yes, laughing about a horrible disaster that kills lots of people. Yes, dark,
you don't-
sick humor.
You don't laugh, you cry. You know.
Yeah,
The
that's
moral of
right.
the story is I'm not getting on any planes this year, so I'm probably not coming to UFO days this year because
Why don't you drive up?
Let's drive.
Dude, that's a hell.
Yeah,
That's a
it'd be dope.
22-hour drive, bro.
You can do it in a day.
If the
Okay.
gas comes down, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe we can rent
Gosh,
one
I
of those
can't
Elon
wait for
cars.
that, dude. The fluctuation in my city, it goes from like first thing in the morning, it's down to like the 290s, and then by mid afternoon, it's up into like the 317s, 320s,
Yeah,
325s.
it's the same here.
It
I think
just-
that's pretty much how it
I don't know
goes.
why it just spikes because I guess that's
Maybe
when
we
all the
could,
people are out, right?
We could rent one of those Elon cars and have it drive us there, and then it won't be so bad.
I don't know, man. You might get attacked and firebombed on your way.
That's fine.
As long as we live stream it, we'll make money. So
Yeah, dude, this sunlight is just my head is so shiny.
Your
I am the one with the
forehead is
knowledge.
gleaming, bro.
Just so you know.
you're the enlightened dude. You are the enlightened one. Speak.
Enlightened one. What's that Marvel character? Vision?
Five head man.
5 head. Jeez.
Screw you, dude. But you're right.
Put a hat on, bro. Crystal said put a fucking hat on,
I
dude.
don't have a hat near me. I'd have to walk out. All right, all right. Give me a second. Let me go get a hat.
3D print one
Oh,
with
here,
that
look,
fucking.
look. I'll use my microfiber cloth for my 3D print. Yeah, 3D print myself a hat. There's my hat.
That's not enough.
Let me go get a hat. This is actually blinding me. So I'm
Yeah, it's rough, man. You got to do something about that, bro.
All right, now that he's gone.
Yes.
Hello.
Welcome to Shadow Band Podcast.
Unsubscribe to this podcast and subscribe to Shadow Band Podcast.
That's hilarious. Actually, I think that us doing this stream on Infinite Rabbit Hole tonight, I think we'll put it into affiliated status. We got all the followers we needed last stream.
Tight.
Skeeter said that made it worse. Yeah, we know that made it worse, brother. He's gonna go put on blackface. That's the only thing that'll really fix it.
Dude, that would be the ultimate, dude. Clip it.
all right, there. I'm wearing another podcast hat.
There you go.
Sweet. Kramer, are you coming to UFO days too?
I mean, if I can, I'll be there, bro.
Oh, that'd be dope.
Yeah, I've never been. I didn't even know it was a thing, but I'll be there.
It's not the craziest thing in the world. We probably won't see any UFOs. We might. We probably won't.
If I'm there, it's going to be a good time.
Apparently, we left early on Saturday, but apparently they get turned up. So we left like probably 9 when the event closed, but apparently they start playing live music in the square and everyone gets hammered drunk. And they were out till like 2:00 in the morning, just getting smashed in the middle of the street, trying to call the UFOs in. So
No, we went home
So-
early. We were wrecked, man. We were so tired.
we might have to take have napping schedules so we can stay up, because I mean we were out there at we were up at 4:00 in the morning, getting out there early to set up and all that sort of stuff. By the time 9 rolled around, it's like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do this right now, and then still having to drive 35 minutes back home. But yeah, it should be a good time. So hopefully, if nothing else, we'll have to do a shift rotation so that some of us will be out there goofing off and can report and be all hungover the next day.
Yeah.
Feel like garbage. But
That
yeah.
sounds fun.
All right. So I didn't really look into this whole pyramid thing. You could call it a pyramid scheme if you'd like to. because I'm so tired of getting BS'd and lied to that when I saw it, I was just like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Another one of those things where no one can disprove it except for the people who are reporting on it, right?
There you go, dude.
So it's like it's same thing for me with because no one's gonna dig down, right? No one is gonna get authorization to dig underneath the pyramids and expose all of this stuff because it might ruin the thing, right? It might ruin this one of the seven wonders of the world. So all we can do is see the one person who said, I found this, and then no one else can debate them because they don't have the information. That's how I feel about it. But
I believe it. I believe it because it's the only thing in the news cycle right now where the Jews didn't do it. Clearly now they didn't build that. They didn't even know it was there. So they didn't do it.
Yeah.
So I believe just for that purpose and that alone.
I love that whole I've had people debate me and say, it says, or the archaeologists have found, detailed receipts from people who built the pyramids and payments for their labor. So that means the Jews didn't do it. And I was like, the Bible doesn't say the Jews built the pyramid. The Bible says that they were enslaved in Egypt. They could have been doing anything. They could have been farmers. It had nothing to do with the pyramids, probably. Those were built by the Anunnaki and all the giants and stuff like that. And then the freaking, all these people. And then the Egyptian moved in and they're like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, look, might as well live here. This has got some cool stuff. Right. What is this? Is this an ad? Oh no, never mind. It changed.
It was an ad, but I closed out the ad. No, this is just an article. This is from the Jerusalem Post. Speaking of the Jews,
I don't believe it.
Scientists say they use.
Post, I don't believe it.
Scientists say they use new tech to find vast city beneath the pyramids. See, this is the thing. Like I've seen so many different headlines, like vast city, vast structures. Like who knows what
tunnels
it is
with spirals and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here it is. Italian and Scottish researchers claim they found a major discovery beneath the pyramids of Giza. Blah blah blah.
I didn't know the Italians and the Scots were going at this project together. That's interesting.
Yeah, like
here we go. Using technology known as synthetic aperture radar (SAR), which combines satellite radar data with tiny vibrations from naturally occurring seismic movements. This method creates 3D images of what lies beneath the Earth's surface without the need for physical excavation. Blah blah blah. There's some nugs.
Whoa,
nice nugs and legal weed.
Nugs and fat people.
Nice. Oh, prostate.
Prostate.
All right, we got everything there, man. What is your algorithm, bro?
That's the Jerusalem Post, bro. I don't know. That's just...
They're really into those prostates. As a half Jewish person, I can tell you, as the Jewish ambassador, very big into prostates.
I also have this. I got this little. This is what they found.
Wow.
That is, come on, dude.
So it's a battery.
The pyramid at the top. The pyramid's fucking huge, man. Right? Like we've all seen pictures of it and shit. Like it's huge. And then inside the pyramid, you see there's those 5 little chambers, which
like a capacitor.
They know of one, which is the quote unquote king's chamber. Right. But now apparently there's 5 identical ones in there. So they're like, oh shit. And then there's these 8 fucking spiral tube tunnels that go down to these 2 fucking giant blocks down there, but those blocks are like the size of the pyramid, bro.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's how it goes down like 2 kilometers underground. The fuck
that's wild.
I've been saying it on the pod for years now. Whatever happened at that time was so wild. God buried it and struck it from the record. Like you're never doing this again. Whatever that was, you're never doing it again. You're not even approximating it again. It's so crazy.
It makes me wonder because, the earth was so bad that God decided he regretted his creation and decided to kill almost everyone, right? But you look at the world today and it's pretty bad. It's like,
not that bad.
The Bible says, like, as in the days of Noah, people are feasting and getting married and all this sort of stuff. They really don't know what's going to come next. in that case, it was the flood. In the next one, it's, the Antichrist. And then when he speaks the world out of existence with a loud sound and the whole universe explodes at the very end, and then there's the new creation. But how bad was it, right? That something like this would happen. I can't imagine that the pyramids would be suspended on top of them like a big arrow or something like that. Like, that doesn't seem
It just
likely.
makes
But
me wonder. Go ahead.
I heard this years ago.
Yeah.
Someone out there, some weird, I don't know, but they said that the pyramids were likely on stilts. And I was like, that's not possible. And then to see this, I'm like,
and it's
someone
just
else
buried
called
under
it.
all the sand from all the water rushing around and pushing it all over the place.
Yeah.
Gosh, wouldn't they be nuts? What if they
I
had?
mean, I don't
what
know,
if
man.
they-
I've
I mean,
always
shoot. What if they had levitation technology and they could just suspend something that weighs an ungodly amount of weight that you can't even comprehend up on pedestals like that, and it's just
Yeah.
like, there it is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
well,
And
it
God's like,
goes
no,
through.
no, we're not doing this, and wipe
It
it
goes
off.
through the it goes through the fucking limestone and shit that's down there, right? It's not just like sand that's underneath the pyramids. So like it's a subterranean structure of some kind. It's not like it's just been buried by sand.
No, okay, yeah, sure, you're right.
Like the pyramids at one point were like mostly buried by sand. There's like old pictures. Now these could be fake pictures, right? Like fake history shit. But there are like old black and white photos from when the camera was very first invented, right? And you can see pictures of like, the pyramids, and half of it is buried under sand. The Sphinx is like completely buried under sand. So that, there's a lot of sand up there, but all that other shit down below, like that's in the
Mhm.
rock. That's down in the fucking limestone or granite or whatever the hell that is that's down there.
Yeah, I
But
don't know why I was thinking that they were just sitting on sand. That was kind of silly.
what's crazy to me is like, those things go down to those two cube structures at the bottom. And I'm thinking to myself, like, is that just the limit of this SAR technology? Like, is that just the limit of what they can scan and get a representation? Like, is there more that's down there?
Bro, if there's more, come on. You know what I mean? Like, this has already been messing me up so much because everybody in this realm has their suspicions about where those came from. Archaeologists have said for like a decade now that the erosion on the pyramids is more consistent with water erosion than wind erosion. So it's like, okay, flood. All right. And then that means that they're pre the Egyptians of the Bible. They're whatever people were there before that. So then you're like, whoa, like even before that, they were building these things and what was going on there. So then, you're thinking about, the Anunnaki and the Nephilim and like, okay, there's some, but then you see that like there's something underneath there. And you're like, for me, I'm just like, wow, something really did happen. Like there's not a chance that it's the understanding that we've had for centuries now. It's definitely something else was going on. And like, there's no conspiracy theory anymore. Like if that's there, something else was on Earth helping humans build this stuff or building it. And we just found it.
Definitely.
I give more credit to humans, man. I mean, like, I do believe that there was probably giants at some point. And I do believe there's definitely like lost technologies and like lost physics, and that kind of thing. But I think a lot of the great structures, right? Like the shit that's under the pyramids, I think humans could have built that. I just think what you have to do is you have to stretch out the timeline of like how long people have been doing shit, right? Because this idea that people have only been doing shit for like, I don't know, like 6,000 or 7,000 years, right? Before that, we were just fucking around.
Well,
10,000 years ago, we were just following fucking elk and shit through the ice. Like, no, I think you have to stretch the timelines back, 30, 40, 50,000 years ago, we were doing shit. Right?
Even from the biblical perspective, where people will say 8,000 years and stuff like that. For one, if you were to look at that perspective, it's theorized that even from a 6 or 7, 8,000 year time that we've been here, that there have been approximately 80 to 85 billion people that have lived and died on this planet, right? So there's that, right?
Whoa, I didn't know it was that high of a number.
Big families, high death rate, lots of wars, lots of conflicts, disease, plagues, yada yada yada, right? So the manpower is there, but also the Bible doesn't say that Adam and Eve were the only two people. It says that they were the first two people because Cain left his parents after he murdered his brother and married a woman in another land. So there were other people. Now, I can't think for a second that Adam and Eve stayed in the garden for all of a week and then sinned against God. They may have been in that garden for 50,000 years before they sinned against God, right?
Yeah.
So in that time frame, there's those people that are doing whatever the heck it is that they're doing, right, for that time frame. And that's kind of where I go to. So it's like,
Well, yeah, it also says like when he curses Eve, he says childbirth will now be painful.
right,
So it's like it implies that it wasn't at first.
right.
So they
Right.
will now bear children in pain or whatever,
There
however it's
must have been
phrased.
a lot of them for it to be that big, like a big enough deal for God
Yeah.
to like announce that this is a change, right? Like there must have been a lot of childbirth.
Mhm.
Yeah,
You know what I
it's
mean?
it's very well possible. I mean, the other possibility is that it was a relatively short time frame that they were there, and now that's just relatively short.
Sure.
Who knows actual short? But then there was a video I saw. This lady was talking about re-engineering the human genome, the rate of gene variance between generations, and like the amount of variance you can have. Like,
Right.
so she was saying that like between every generation, there's a certain amount of variability that could happen, and if you go backwards, the variability increases. So you have more variation possibilities the further back you go.
Mhm.
And so she was like, I wonder how far back you can go to where you have one single pair that
Mhm.
has the potential for all variations. So like it's just maxed out
Right.
variability. And so I think she could go back like 12,000 years using whatever formula she had. And you can go all the way back about 12,000 years. She said you can get to two human beings
So
when
like
they
you
could
could have like
populate.
those two humans, let's say they were like of the same race, right?
Yeah.
You know, two Nordic humans, a male and a female, they could have a baby, and because of the possible genetic sequencing at that point, they could pop out like a black Asian kid.
Any eye color, any hair texture, any
Right.
height, anything. They could just,
Like
it's
like a
completely
zebra
random.
child. They could put out like a
Yeah.
zebra child.
Yeah. You could have giants, you could have super tiny, you could have like it's just the possibility is endless. So that she
Right.
was saying you could get back to an Adam and Eve within about 12,000 years off of the gene expression rate. So with that being said, you can get to like, and because of how long everybody lived, once they're out of the garden,
Mhm.
she starts cranking out kids. You can marry or whatever, you can procreate with a sibling because there's no chance. The variability is so
Mhm.
wide. There's no chance of what we have
A
as like
birth defect,
inbreeding system.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and like that, the ordinance didn't come in till 2,000 years later to Moses that
Yeah.
the inbreeding, whatever,
Right.
that whole thing wasn't even a thing until then.
Mhm.
So it's like it's very possible that, well, it's very likely that Cain just married a sister.
Right.
Not
Sure.
like we think of it
Yeah.
now, but like genetically more distant, like an actual blood sister of his was genetically more different than you and I are.
See, this is like, you know,
That's cool.
ancient astronaut probably isn't the best term because it implies that they come from outer space. But like, I am in favor of some of the ideas of like the ancient astronaut idea, right? Where like something manipulated with our DNA or something at some point in history, right? So let's say what you're talking about, going back about 12,000 years and like the genome and all this, right? You know, I'm still leaning on like, hey, the history of, call it, humans building shit on Earth has to go back much further, right? Like
Mhm.
the erosion on the Sphinx, right? What's under the pyramids, like all these things, right? It just points to the. I mean, they purposely built or buried Göbekli Tepe like 12,000 years ago, right? They purposely buried it, which means they must have built it before then, right? So I think maybe there was like a lineage of beings that were here for, call it, I don't know, 100,000 years, building crazy stuff, right?
Well,
And
have
like
you
what you're
seen
talking.
the discovered fossilized toes of Noah?
What?
They're
No,
giant.
but listen, but what I'm thinking is that
I'll
if,
look it up.
if some other entity or maybe other beings that lived here, I don't know, whatever it is, something happened, they intervened with the genome, and some of the stories that you would get in the Bible could be like metaphoric in a way, right? Like this whole, um like you're talking about, where like, hey, childbirth is now going to be painful, like all these things are going to happen now, like this sin has been committed, right? Is that sin really just a metaphor for like this manipulation of the beings that were here to create the beings that we are now, right?
Yeah, like pre-flood, anything kind of goes because you have not just biblical stories, but like all cultures have some sort of root in that there was beings that told us things that we didn't know. You have interactions with deities and all kinds of stuff. So it's like anything's on the table at that point from that time period and then like a little bit after because it's like there are giants. Whatever they could do, they're not necessarily like, just big club wielding giants that are dumb, big ogres. Like they could have also possibly all that brain matter. They could have been psychic. They could have been all kinds of stuff. Just knowing everything. If we're interacting with like the Dagon fish god thing that was telling the holy moly, dude.
So this is apparently a giant human bone that was found at the base of Mount Sinai, around where Noah is said to be buried. And
My
so they're proposing that the ark was so big and it could have been made like that because Noah was in himself and his family probably they were giants.
Wasn't he like 900 years old or something?
Yeah.
He was pretty old. I think he
That,
got into
that's
the
what I'm saying.
800s.
So he was like a call it like a pre-flood being, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
and then post flood is what Cream was trying to talk about too, right? Like post flood, like now we only live 100 years. Now we have all these fucking ailments. The sun is dangerous, like whatever you want to
Yeah.
mhm.
throw at it. We're just different. Like something happened, and I would argue that it was probably a genetic thing, right? It probably had something to do with the genome. I mean, there's like people who talk about like the fusing of some of these parts of the DNA. I don't know how to explain this. I'm not a geneticist, but like,
Oh, like I know what you're saying. The that guy was talking about. So when after the flood, when God says that humans will only live for like 120 years,
Mhm.
whoever I don't remember what scientist actually figured it out, but they were looking at the telomeres and they're like, there's a cap on them. Like there's no reason for it to be there, but they just stop.
Right.
You can't get any older than that, or roughly, but
Right.
like it is capped. It doesn't have to be, but for some reason, it just is. It's like, where did that come from?
Yeah, to me, like, and that doesn't negate. I don't know. See, like, I don't know. I'm torn because I think that the people who run the world, which includes the people who have like had a hand in like writing a lot of the religious texts in history, right?
Jews, yeah.
Those people, right? The Jews, sure, whatever. Like those
Just kidding.
people, like they're in a specific cult, right? And I'm not talking about any of these like major monotheistic religions that we all know of, right? Like I've talked about this on both of our shows. Like these Saturn death cult people, these people who
Mhm.
literally are in this other cult, who literally worship a god that thinks it's God. And for all intents and purposes, it is the Satan archetype, right?
Right.
We've talked about like Yaldabaoth, Satan, Saturn, right? Like it's the same archetype,
Mhm.
slightly different verbiage in the stories and like this and that. But like, so to me, when I hear things like, hey, this flood happened and everything that happened after this, right? Like, is this totally different reality for the beings that live on this earth, right? To me, that's almost like a manipulation of the story to put in their cult, into some of these religious texts. And when you're talking about like all of the cultures and religions across the world have like some variation of this kind of thing, right? Like to me, like when you see Hancock talk about these beings on all these hieroglyphs and these reliefs and all these carvings, the man bag, the purse, right? The
Mhm.
bag of knowledge, whatever being this was, Thoth or something that was going around post flood and like giving the knowledge to the Central Americans, to the people over in the Middle East, like how to build pyramids, how to use geometry, how to use math, how to look at the stars and like tell time and these types of things. Whatever culture that was bringing the information, like that is the light, the information, the knowledge, right? Like that is, I don't know how to explain, man. It's hard for me to articulate
Well,
this.
biblically
They
speaking,
were they
the
were fulfilling their own prophecy of this like bringer of light, this Luciferian idea, and they were erasing the old religions of the time. And now we've just happened to live 2,000 years later. So like we're looking at like a weird version of this, like, you know.
Yeah, we're
well,
trying to like
biblically
glean what
speaking,
we can from relics.
the
Right.
the one of the reasons why God flooded the earth was due to the call them the daughter or the sons of heaven, right? The angels coming down and procreating with the daughters of men and creating a race of giants that were the men of renown, right? So all those ancient stories and all that sort of stuff. He then takes those angels that did that and seals them in the pit to be released during the tribulation, right? So they are bound in, let's call it, in chains, awaiting the day to come out and wreak havoc on the earth. But the children, right? Let's call them demigods, but is more like demi demons, right? So they're now hybrids. It doesn't say in the Bible that the flood removed that genetic code from the human race. Obviously, if that is Noah's toe or a part of his toe bones, then obviously it was still there. And at what point, and it does say that, the that humans were taught some kind of like metallurgy or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but from these demonic, beings. So they were taught all this sort of stuff. Now, if that genetic code or that, giant whatever was still around, you know, say that they're demonically influenced beings that have all of that extra knowledge that people don't have. And with the spreading out, right after Noah's Ark is the Tower of Babel, where God confuses the language and people go this way and people go that way. And so all these different cultures that all have a flood experience because they all have in their backstory of where we came from Noah and his family and all that sort of stuff because of the flood, right? So that's why all the cultures have the same story. It's because it actually happened, and it's just the same common story of the background of where we came from, right?
Yeah.
So because of the original people that were populating the area. But on top of that, you also probably have this giant race that still exists, and that's why we have giants all over the place, in burial mounds, and not just oh, we found a skeleton, underneath the ocean, buried under sediment. Like there's actually like they were maybe worshipped as gods in certain regions and then given a, ritualistic burial and stuff like that. And that's why you find them in mounds and stuff. And here in Wisconsin, right? Type stuff, right? So the Native Americans were probably could have been worshiping them, or, at least would find them and be like, well, this is, a god or something like that, right? Let's give it a proper burial, right? So I mean, there's all these sorts of variations, but with the spreading out of people, that's why you find the same sort of pyramids because they had the same information. You find the same pyramids similar in the Mayan cultures, right? And then you get them in other places too. But it's like it's the same geometry. It maybe look different, but it's the same geometry. It still lines up with the stars, all these sorts of things. So I think that it's not too far to say that the reason why there's all these varying cultures all over the place is because people were spreading out and they all had that same information. They all had their own backstory of where we came from. That's why you got all the flood things. But then also there's giant skeletons all over the place, and some of them very, 8 feet tall. I'd say that's pretty big. See a person that's 7'1", that's pretty big. But you get up
Yeah.
to 9, 10, 11 feet, right? Type stuff, and it's just like, okay, that's kind of crazy. There's no one that I
Significant.
know of walking around that's that tall without a, you know, problem with their brain, and then they end up dying in their 20s, right? So,
Yeah.
those sorts of people just can't exist anymore. But they used to, and maybe they had the same information as the demons who were creating giants in the first place, right?
Yeah. I
They
think
had
like
that knowledge, right? Somehow.
going back to what Jeff was saying, like there is clearly some sort of significance to these like enhanced humans, hybrid humans, or
Oh,
whatever.
certainly.
So there's no reason to believe that Noah's descendants are not telling stories about, old, Shemgor that was like this giant guy
Yeah,
that like
right.
did whatever. And then they're like, oh, well, that's cool. That's a cool story. I'm gonna worship that guy or his spirit or whatever.
Mhm.
But then also like post flood, this is what I'm saying. Like when spooky stuff happens and weird mystical stuff happens, these interventions or whatever, the supernatural stuff happens. It's
Mhm.
like so many things are now back on the table as possibilities. Like in not the actual Bible, but in the book of Jasher, it talks about Nimrod and how
Sure.
he stole the skins that God gave Adam and Eve. He steals the skins from Shem or Ham or whatever.
Right.
And when he puts them on, he starts to like do, 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 over a little bit of time. Like they've been touched by God. So they just have like something supernatural about them.
Hmm.
And he starts to get like super smart, becomes a crazy good hunter, and is like now becoming the leader of everybody. Like he's just outperforming all the other humans. And then he's the one that's orchestrating the Tower of Babel, which again in that book is said that like the distance across it was a 3 days journey.
Jeez.
It's not like, the Tower of Pisa and they were actually built something cool. Like this was a giant citadel that was so significant that once again, God was like, there they go again. It's because they can all talk together. So then he confuses language, but also the whole thing collapses.
Mhm.
And so I believe it's toward the end of the book. He says that the whoever's writing Jasher is like, because it's way after the fact. They're like half of it's still sticking out of the ground, the other half sunk. So like the story is true or what I'm telling you because half of it's still out there. So this was crazy. Those people that built that thing and were led by Nimrod and all the crazy stuff that he was getting humans back into, all of those people are now mythologized or whatever,
Right.
whatever the word is. And so all the cultures that spread from there that go off into Asia and go off into Africa, further down in Africa to go up to Europe and go up and get all the way to Australia, all of those people they have those stories of these guys that we built this thing and this guy was crazy and this guy maybe had a little bit of extra something special and there's some weird stuff that was happening again. And so then you get the Egyptians and all these, you get Thoth and like
Yeah.
these stories come from, I think, real people that, like Jeff's saying, like this archetype
Mhm.
that everybody can share because it was real. It's a real guy. It's a
Yeah.
real person. And, the story changes a little bit over time. But once that, if it's possible, again, it's not canonized, so I take it with a grain of salt. But
Right.
if something like that could be done, I mean, the eventually we're going to find the tower, whatever's left of the Tower of Babel. Someone's going to do this LiDAR thing and be like, I think this is where they made it, and boom, and they're going to find it, and they're just going to be like,
At least the foundation of it.
at least.
Another thing that I saw that was interesting, I'll try to find it after I rant about it for a second here, but there's been a few other discoveries using LiDAR and this other technology too. There was another temple, I forget the name of it, but I'll find it here. They scanned this temple and it's covered in trees. I think it's in like Central America somewhere, so it's like in the jungle, right? And it's like
Oh,
one of
yeah.
the biggest temples, in the world, temple complexes in the world. So they scan this thing, they get all like the high def resolution of like what's actually there, all the structures and stuff, and there's like very specific set of geometric patterns that they're finding, right? And they look like these back and forth squiggly lines, right, that like track with each other like a game of Snake, but the whole game is full from the snake, right? Like it's
Hmm.
super intricate. And I was watching this video and this guy, he was like, I'm a computer engineer, and he's like, this is a microchip. He's like, looking at this, my first thought is this is a microchip. And like, he's breaking down, how microchips work and how the energy is like flowing through
Skeeter
these
says in
channels.
Cambodia.
Thank you. See, and it's interesting because I've talked about this like a little bit before, but there's like a good term if you want to Google this would probably be like microchip Earth theory, right? Or something like that. And the idea is that a lot of the structures, especially back then in ancient times, right? Let's call it pre-flood, right? Times. Who the fuck? My fucking phone.
Damn, you owe us all donuts now.
The CIA is like, shut up.
You guys hear missiles?
So anyways, so like all of the structures, especially back then of the cities and stuff on a macro scale are set up in a design to like funnel energy. So if you look at like a Google map image of like a city layout right now, you'll notice like certain geometric patterns, the roads are laid out in like grid shapes, and there's like, I don't know, everything is very like geometric. Now you can make an argument like, hey, that's just the most efficient way to do this, to lay roads, and it's just the way we do it. Okay, sure. Or you could look at it from like this computer engineer mind and say, hey, look, this is like a perfect way to like funnel energy or siphon energy or whatever the case might be. And when you look at these temple complexes, like these geometric patterns, they all lead to like some monument or some center or some place. And it's almost as if like these were all either energy devices of some kind, or maybe it was spiritual energy. Maybe they were on another level. When I talk about lost knowledge and lost physics, if you want, right?
Sure.
Maybe there's something to, if you have enough people, let's say your entire society, right? Some estimates are saying that there were cities in the Amazon jungle that had millions of people living in them, right? So if you have 1 million people showing up at a specific celestial event, like a solstice or a fucking something, right? And they're all, let's say, praying, right? Or putting off this energy into a specific direction or whatever, a specific frequency, and the entire infrastructure around you, the streets, the walls, the buildings, everything is creating like a tuning fork to focus this energy onto, I don't know, your pyramid or something. You could somehow generate something, open a portal, I don't know, a Stargate, power your fucking city, everybody comes themselves, I don't know what happens. Like something's got to happen.
They're vibrated into a massive singular orgasm.
Right, maybe that's where
they have become
poofed. They just poofed away. They came themselves out of existence.
It's so the 3000 BC city bust.
Skeeter says in the chat, he said this a little bit ago, but he says, what if the pyramid on top is to cover something or keep something out or keep something in, I suppose.
Oh, God. No,
so like what they break it open
scary.
and then all the demons come out that have been caged. That's
the
pyramid.
It's too scary.
Leviathan comes out of there, bro. See, that's some shit. Like, I'm about that, man. That's a cool way to like think about stuff, because you talk about like Revelations or like any of these other prophecies. Like the Titans are gonna return to fucking whatever, or like Ragnarok, like these giant beasts are gonna come and fucking end the world. It's like, what if that is some shit? What if we just unlocked and opened a fucking gate into like the depths? Creamer was talking about this one day, like some river dried up. Remember?
Oh, dude, no, it didn't dry up. It's drying up, dude.
Yeah.
No, somebody get a bucket of water, dude.
And it's
get
crazy
a bucket
because it's not even drying up naturally. It's drying up because of damming projects.
Yeah.
In all of human history, the Euphrates River has never been dry, and it's drying up. And it's said that the demons are locked into it. So
there's like 12 angels or something like that bound at the Euphrates. Look, I've said it a million times. We are like the singularity, right? This convergence. It's not necessarily with the machine. I think that's like a tangential one. There's a convergence to the stuff that's happening. Like, people can say whatever they want about the Bible. There's no reason for it to know all the way back then that there's a cap on your telomeres. It doesn't know how to say it, but it just says you can't live that long. right? There's no
Yeah.
reason for there to be like all this hinting at a breakaway civilization all the way back then. Someone just making stuff up and decided to make that up, and then come to find out 4 or 5,000 years later, there was. Who'd thunk it? It's like there's like throwaway things in there that are just
Prophecy.
massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like it's not
Yeah.
the pinnacle of the story. It's not even the focal point of it. It's just
Right.
like, oh
It's
yeah,
just like, oh, by the
this
way.
happened. Yeah, by the way,
Yeah.
giants. By the way, and like this stuff comes out way after too. Like when Israel goes into the promised land, they're like,
Yeah.
we're not going to win. There's a whole city of giants.
Yeah.
That wasn't that long ago, dude. And then however many hundreds of years later, David has to go fight all those Philistines, and there's Goliath, still a giant. It's like, bro, they're still around.
You know why? So I went to a Christian men's retreat. It was a 3-day long thing, and there was the guy was really hyper focused on giants. The whole topic was about like the history of giants, and it basically came down to that's pretty cool,
dude.
Basically, came down to doing what God tells you to do and doing it the exact way He tells you to do it. Right? If He assigns you to a task to come to fruition with it. But the reason why David had to fight Goliath was because when the Israelites were first going in and warring with all of the other places that they're warring with, people always say that it's like, oh, well, if God's so good, why is there wars and death and all this sort of stuff? Because when God goes to take that stuff out, everyone complains about it. But they were warring with all of the nations around them, like the Canaanites and the Amorites and all these different people, because they were races of giants. And David, or who was it? They didn't do Joshua. Joshua was leading the charge. Moses and Joshua. Moses died. Joshua took over.
Joshua and
He was
Caleb.
supposed to eliminate all of the races of giants, all of these civilizations where giants were living, and he didn't. He left one out, and that one spawned Goliath.
The Philistines. Wow,
yeah. Because he didn't do what he was supposed to do. He left one out, and then David had to fight Goliath, and he came out of that nation that Joshua left over because it's like, yeah, we did most of it, it'll be all right. But it's just like, but yeah,
it's interesting that God is like on a mission to wipe that from the record, though. Like it was that crazy. And then what we're doing is crazy, but how is it not that crazy? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I was bugging me out today thinking that I was working and I'm like, bro, somebody somewhere could possibly be watching me talk about something I said years ago, but right now. Like my existence is captured by electricity and receptors and is now kept on a server somewhere. It's just electricity. This moment is being captured by light and then being stored in a box somewhere. And then somebody can go and access the light and it can beam it into their eyes. And the sound of the frequency of my voice is oscillating this little thing that's transmitting it into more light. That's also getting stored in a box and getting written on a piece of copper somewhere. And then somehow it doesn't make any sense, but we're doing it all the time, everywhere. Immediately, like I'm talking to you right now. Mm-hmm. You're not here. You're somewhere far away. And we're speaking in real time to each other. I can see you. How is this not crazier than that?
Speaking of talking, this is a good point. Let's say, because I believe it, but let's say that the technologies of those first people, the ones who actually built the pyramids, whoever they may have been, right? The architects or, Anunnaki or giants or whoever, right? Let's say that their technology was more advanced than we are right now, right? What if, because it's unclear what ancient Egyptians sounded like. Because when we could translate it and we have current day Egyptians, but words and dialects and things change over time, right? Like it's, for example, all the different dialects and all the different accents we have here in the United States, right? Originally, people spoke English or they spoke French or they spoke German or wherever from they came from, and then that's translated through the years into certain areas. Like, you get the Northeast and they have, that Boston accent, all that sort of stuff, and then completely different from the Southern accent, a California accent, whatever, right? Or all the people here that say bag, right? So here in Wisconsin. So um that changes, right? The way people speak, depending on where they come from and all that sort of stuff, it changes. So, how cool would it be? Now, on the opposite side, they could crack this thing open that they found underneath the pyramids and release some plague that has been dormant for thousands of years and kill everybody on Earth. But on the other side of that, what if they were to find like an ancient recording device with people talking on it, leaving a message, and we could actually hear what people sound like back then? Just as kind of like it'd be cool.
That would be cool.
But what if they had the message for all of the ancient technologies too? So we
I
could,
mean, I like kind of what Skeeter said, man, like something along those lines. Cause like Göbekli Tepe, right? Again, like they purposely buried that place 12,000 years ago. Like those people knew that the entire area was going to get fucked up from a cataclysm somehow. I don't know how they knew this shit. They were watching the sky really close and they knew that this
started
fragmented
raining for the
comet
first time.
coming, whatever the fuck happened, right?
Yeah.
Like, so they purposely buried this giant complex full of like the craziest shit that's twice as old as the fucking pyramids, right? And
Yeah.
it's like, that one discovery, by the way, literally doubled the age of human civilization. Okay,
How
one
do they
place.
know the age of things like that? Like, because all they're doing is carbon dating the rocks, right?
No, you can't carbon date rock. They
Right.
carbon date organic material that's found in or around the rock, like
So
so
like
in
with pollen
mortar,
samples or something.
something like they'll dig out a piece of mortar and they'll find like a piece of grass that's in the mortar and they'll fucking carbon date that, right? Or however they'll do it. Or like you said, a piece of pollen that they find wedged in between some rocks, and they're like, well, this is, this couldn't have been here if the rocks weren't here, so it's at least X old. But carbon dating is not even accurate after X amount of years too. I forget the
Right.
number. We looked it up one time, but it's only a few thousand years carbon dating is accurate because the half-life of fucking carbon keeps decaying. And after X thousand years, like you're just pissing in the wind. You're just guessing. So when they're
Mhm.
like, oh, fucking 65 million years ago, it's like, shut up, dude.
Sure.
But my point is just that, like, with one discovery of one place that was purposely buried doubles the age of civilization. So, and what Skeeter's saying, like, oh, it's probably a giant capstone keeping the fucking Leviathan or whatever. Maybe it's more like you're talking about where it's a time capsule, just like Göbekli Tepe. Hey, we know some shit's going down. Civilization's not what we think it is. Whatever happened, it's going down. So we got to bury all this shit. We got to
Maybe it's an
cover it
arc.
up. We got to build a fucking pyramid, a massive pyramid structure that'll never be destroyed. Build this on top of this other thing that we worship, right? Like just like in
Mhm.
Göbekli Tepe. Burying Göbekli Tepe would have been like a monumental feat from what I understand. Like from the vast, like how big the area is and like the amount of shit they would have had to bring in to bury all these structures, like without fucking them up and all this. Like it would have been crazy. It would have been just as crazy as building the pyramids.
W-
So
When you say that it was buried on purpose,
right.
is it more likely that it was buried on purpose or that it just was buried?
No, because they've done studies and like tested the soil and shit they know that the certain gradient, it's not like a slow, gradual, like dirt and dust has just been burying this place over
Mhm.
time.
Sure.
Because at the bottom, the mixture of what they're using to bury is the same as what's at the top. So it's like in a short period of
Dirt
time.
went from this place to this place,
Right.
not dirt was moved and then kind of just gradually over it, right?
Right.
Okay.
They've dug out all this dirt and they're like the dirt at the bottom is the same as the dirt at the top. And it's like a specific type of like, I don't know how they've explained it. Like,
Their soil or whatever. Yeah, sure.
they've mixed it, with the
Yeah.
shit or whatever. And they're like, yeah, no, they know for sure that they buried this and they buried it carefully to make sure nothing got fucked up, like a time capsule. And again,
There's
it was monumental. So there's no reason for me to think that they wouldn't also build a giant fucking pyramid as a stone to cover up a time capsule of some kind, right?
there's so many things in this earth that are just like that. Like the soil in the Amazon is man-made, right? Like there's so much stuff where it's just like, what on earth was going on? You know,
Yeah.
what was going on?
Yeah.
It's
Well, in
like,
that city, like it's built like a microchip. Like,
yeah.
how does anybody know? Like, is it written in our DNA? Like, people don't think like humans have instincts like animals do, but
Well, certainly we do.
we have to. But like
Yeah.
high level instinct
Yeah.
to be like, oh, we can create things. And it's just like something seems to be in us where it's like there's something there where we go to this microchip build. People that had no idea what a microchip is, they build a city that's built like a power grid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, like I could
Yeah.
say some of that might you could attribute some of that to like psychedelics, right? Because every culture through the evolution of society had like shamans or like the entire culture was doing psychedelics regularly, right? Like some people even argue, like Terrence McKenna was saying, like we've evolved from fucking primates to humans because of psychedelics because we're eating them for a million years, right? So, and there is something to that. Like I've had experiences personally where like, you're having a trip and like you're seeing geometric patterns, you're seeing, like like things that don't exist in nature, you're seeing like in your head, which is weird, right? And that sounds weird because you could just think of anything, but you're on a psychedelic experience, right? Like you're witnessing geometric patterns forming, and it's like, how the fuck is that happening? So it's
Yeah.
not beyond me to think that like, cultures and builders, right? Like the Freemasons originally were Masons, right? And they were the builders, right? And they were also aware of psilocybin and like these ritualistic aspects of like doing these types of drugs. So I think that they were definitely doing mushrooms, seeing geometric patterns and building them. And then in that process, it just so happens that like, oh, these geometric structures are also the best things to build with, right? Like just so
Yeah.
happens building a fucking square works pretty good. Building a pyramid works pretty good, right? Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
so once they
Is there
figure that shit
anything
out,
to the laser? When people are taking like DMT and then looking into the laser beam and
Looking
like
into
you
the
can see
laser.
it. Have you seen that?
I have seen people doing that. I've never done that. I mean,
It's like a
listen,
great way
part
to
of me
blind
thinks,
yourself.
part of me, well, they're not looking at the laser, they're looking at it
It's
like
just like
shining
shining
on
it
a
in
wall.
their eye.
And they're seeing binary code, which listen, man, there's really smart people who are smarter than all of us, including the people listening to this. There are people who are really smart in this world who claim that we're most likely in a simulation. So half of me sees these people and I'm like, okay, this guy's definitely tripping too hard to be staring at lasers on the wall and seeing binary. But also, maybe there might be something to that because, like I said, when you're in that state of mind, you're in a flow state. And anybody, like we've all, I think, been in flow states before, right? When you're writing music or something, right, Creamer? You get into a rhythm and a mode about an hour in to your session where like nothing else exists in the world except the riff you're working on or the painting you're doing, whatever the thing when you're in that flow state.
You're almost like pulling it out of the ether. I tried to
Exactly.
explain to somebody how like writing music is, and I'm like, I'm finding it. I'm discovering it. Like there's something there, and I'm like reaching for it with my senses to be like, there it is. And like, okay, and here's what the word should be. And like everything just starts to like morph and materialize, but it's like out of nothing. It didn't exist. And then my brain, and so definitely it could be something where like
you're putting your brain into, I forget which wave state, I don't remember all this shit, the
retarded.
theta state or whatever. Yeah, whichever
What did you say?
theta, alpha brain waves.
You say
One of these brain
retarded?
states.
Yeah, I get stupid, dude.
But like,
Not the
when you
Down
get
syndrome
in,
kind, the real kind.
when you get on that level, information it comes to you. And psychedelics is just like an enhancer of that, right? So I think that there's a lot to that, but like I always say, man, they were doing some other shit with that information too. There's no way that they were building a 2-kilometer deep structure underneath the pyramid, which is already like one of the great wonders of the world. How the fuck did they build this pyramid? Oh, by the way, that's just the top of it.
They dug
Okay.
through 2 kilometers down through limestone to make a bunch of chambers and 2 squares at the bottom and maybe more.
This whole idea of like cavemen and we were just like oonga boonga walking around, like, dude, no, there's no evidence of that ever.
Yeah.
Like some humans are like that today, but that's because they're isolated. We weren't isolated. We could go anywhere. And the world was for the discovery. We weren't purposely like isolating ourselves. And even those people, they live just as long as we do or longer.
Yeah.
So it's like they understand dude, I heard a guy explaining that a tribe in Africa, if they can't find water, they'll go to a salt cave. They'll get a piece of salt rock. They'll go dig a hole in a tree and stick the salt in there. A baboon will come running out and go stick his hand because he loves the salt. He can smell it. And so he goes in and he grabs the salt and his hand puffs up and then his hand is stuck inside the hole. So then they go, all right, we're going to go out there. We're going to dig the little hole out. He's going to eat that salt and get all thirsty. And he knows where the water is. So then they just follow him to the water.
Wow.
We are not stupid. There's no caveman, dude. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And then you have these breakaway civilizations, dude. It doesn't exist. You're talking about an alternative, like a history where like that's not a rewritten history. Cavemen, get out of here with that.
That's what I think the biggest psyop in the world is, man. Honestly, one of at least is that we're at the pinnacle of human evolution, right? That now in 2025, we're just now like we're at the peak of all the information that we could ever learn scientifically. We're building the craziest shit that we've ever built because it's 2025, bro, and like we're humans, man, and that's what we do. But I think that's the biggest psyop. I think that they, right, whoever the fuck they are, they know that there was a previous time, a previous golden age, which is their fucking terminology, which is super interesting because that's something that Trump has been throwing around super liberally lately. This golden age for America situation, right? Which just triggers me so hard. My fucking conspiracy brain is like on
Do
fire.
you think
when
that he knows what he's saying, or it's just
Yes.
like it's just a
No.
synchronicity?
100% he knows exactly what he's saying. He's signaling to the fucking lizard people, right? Literally, and I'm not joking when I say this. He's signaling to them with their own terminology because golden age is Saturn death cult talk, right? Those people worship the golden age. That's what they worship, the time before, right? And they've done all their work with CBDCs and technocracy and fucking surveillance and all this type of shit. This move towards transhumanism and all this smart cities, all of that is a push towards a new golden age, right? Their words. Again, look this shit up. So when Trump comes out and he's like, fuck you, fuck your CBDCs, we're doing a golden age for America, America's golden age, that's a clear signal to the lizard people, like, fuck you guys.
Every society has collapsed right after their golden age.
That too.
Every one of them. You had whatever was going on with the pyramids, and then that got nuked. You had the pharaohs and all those guys, and then they got plagued out, and you never hear about them again. You got the people that were down in like the plain of Shinar, the Canaanites and all the whatever. They got knocked out. The Israelites moved in. They had a great time. They got wiped out. Babylon came in. They got wiped out.
Keep in mind,
Rome wiped.
Revelation does talk about the second Babylon with whoring itself out to the world through all of its riches and its clothing and its diamonds and its pearls and blah blah blah, all this sort of stuff. And when it gets destroyed in a matter of minutes, the entire earth weeps for it. It sounds like, if you read through it, I think it's like Revelation 13 or something like that. But if you read through it, it sounds just like the United States getting nuked off the face of the earth.
I mean, we have an internal nuke, which is really frightening. We have the caldera on Yosemite. So
Gone.
Got the Earth nuke, dude.
Yeah, right. We turn us to a big old smoking crater, and that's it, right?
I want to move out to the Midwest too. It's like,
well,
I can't wait, dude. It'll be like I'll be sitting there eating dinner, and the next moment I'll be in heaven because the entire thing is gone.
I've always said, man, these people, like, they fulfill their own prophecies, right? Like they bring about these prophecies. They propagate them in the public for hundreds and thousands of years just to get everybody like subconsciously, locked into these things, and then they bring about these prophecies. right? Because again, they're pushing towards like they have a different belief than any of us, right? Like they literally think that by doing blood sacrifices and like manipulating the masses and like manipulating matter and all these types of things, like they're somehow going to like physically bring about the next golden age, right? And that is the end of the last age. I mean, this is like a cyclical thing, right? This is something that happens, this great reset, these ebbs and flows, these wipings of societies, right? We talk about this all the time on Shadowban, right? It's like Trump knows this shit too. Now, how like deep does he know and how in on it is he? I don't know, bro. He's probably on the same team as all those people. Like I'm no fool. But the way that he emphasizes those words, like it's clearly a signal, like we're shifting into the next age, right? Like the next age is definitely coming. Fortunately, I think it takes like 200-300 years from what I understand. If you listen to these astrotheology nerds, the guys who look at the sky clock and like they look at history and they're like here's all the fucking the shifts and the ages and all this stuff. Like from what I understand, it's like a 200 to 300 year shift. Now, some would argue,
How many
hey, maybe that shift
years are we in?
started. Well, it's hard to say.
We're
Who
like
knows?
240 or 210.
Well, we don't know, right? Like, when was the actual shift into the new age? Was it like at the beginning of the United States? Like, are we talking we've already been in this for 250 years, 300 years, and like we're at the end of the shift? Because if that's the case, that would suck. That would be shitty for us
Yeah.
because we're gonna get wiped. But
Yeah.
like, maybe this is the beginning. Maybe the whole Y2K 2000 thing or the Mayan calendar 2012 thing, maybe that was the beginning of the shift. I don't know. Or maybe that was the midpoint to the shift. Maybe we still got another 150 years,
That'd be nice.
The last Bitcoin won't be mined until fucking for another 100 years. So maybe that's the end. I don't fucking know. Like,
Oh, sorry, it's Revelation 18.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's
Someone's gonna call me out.
the end of the civilization. I mean, it's like they don't last forever. None of them do. A lot of them morph. I heard
that's
like
the thing, right? Yeah,
they turn into something else.
Right,
they
like
get conquered.
Rome. When Rome ended, it wasn't like a day where Rome just like ended. Now, I'm sure there's probably like some formal thing that might have happened or whatever, but like, like it morphed slowly into the next thing, right? So
Yeah.
when the United States is over at some point, and that might be hundreds of years from now, this shit might roll on for a while. But when it
Sure.
does, it might not just be like, oh, there it goes, bye, sorry, sucks to suck. No, it could just like slowly morph into like another version of this thing. I mean, dude, listen, this guy's talking about bringing Canada and Greenland in as new states, right? Like that doesn't seem like super crazy or profound or anything, but like really think about that. Like just look at the map in your mind, right? Like the map of like the northern hemisphere, and then just think to yourself, like, wait a minute, the United States could just get that much more of it.
Be the biggest
right?
country
Like,
on earth.
You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know, man. The shit's moving. The shit's moving for sure. Yeah, it's moving fast.
I don't see 200-300 years.
The golden age thing is sketchy long term, but my shit's out of focus. But short term for us, man,
You're like a
I'm
Bigfoot right
here
now.
for that shit, bro. Dude, I'm fuzzy, man.
It's all right.
Damn, you hate to see it, bro.
No, dude. I think what's interesting is what's an interesting possibility is that if we are getting toward the end of the age, or if there's a chance that we were, most of them get super gay and then they get destroyed. But we're getting not gay. We're going the other way.
Pretty gay.
We're pretty gay. We've been
gay.
we've been, but I think there's a shift. I think we're getting a little bit less, and hopefully, and I don't mean actual well, I do kind of actually mean actual homosexual gay.
Yeah,
that stuff does happen a lot. And then like I think before Rome fell, there was like the emperor was like just throwing, or whatever he was throwing like a carnival or a circus like every day while the politicians were just looting the place before it fell. Like officially collapsed. It's like we're going that way, for sure going that way. It's like a circus every day. It's just like the news cycle is a circus, entertainment is a circus. People are spending, bro, what was the Snow White movie? It was like $250 million. I don't know. It's like a crazy amount of money that got spent on it. It made $3 million. It's like
funny.
They're just
Oh my God.
blowing
Yeah.
money trying to entertain us, and it's just like,
Yeah.
you know, it's a crazy. It's just, I mean, that's more money than some countries don't have that as their net worth. They spent that
Yeah.
on a
You know, I,
movie.
I kind of, when I saw this whole thing about the pyramids, my first reaction was like, oh, that's whatever, probably some bullshit. Then I looked at it a little more and I was like, oh, wait, this could be like what I've always thought, right? Like the aliens built this shit. Like this is crazy. This is insane. But then it kind of worries me the more I think about it, because it's like, at what point does one of these? Because it seems like we are definitely in this age of information, right? Like the information's coming quick, man. You know, corruption
hmm
here, fraud this, discovery that, right? Like rewrite history over here, like shift the time, double the timeline real quick. Like there's a lot of fucking moving parts. At what point does one of these things like hit a fucking nerve, right? For the lizard people, and they're like, oh shit, like this one can't. Like we cannot do this one. Oh, they figured out what's underneath the fucking whatever now, right? What's underneath Stonehenge? Oh no, right? Like that one we can't let out.
They
Let them
find
loose.
the actual pyramid in Antarctica or whatever, the Arctic.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they
Something,
flew a
yeah.
lidar plane over Antarctica and they found the giant pyramid complex and the mothership. They found the mothership, bro. No. Shut the grid
Well,
down.
what
Shut
does
the
that do
grid
to
off.
the public? That's what I'm like the most like. It's messing me up, and I already believed that was the case. But just hearing it confirmed, it's now not like a faith thing anymore. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
confirmed. Like it's messing me up because like that means, you know, there there really is something else.
Yeah.
Something was meddling with or enhancing or playing with us. And it's like it's real. And there's a real mega structure out in the Middle East buried in the earth. And that's just what we know. There could be so much more. We don't know what's in them. You know, we
Skeeter
know that
says
they're there.
Skeeter says the huge library that's supposed to be under the Sphinx. Yeah.
Yeah, the
You know what I
emerald
mean?
tablets and shit, right? Maybe
It's
the
like,
emerald tablets are down there. Like that would be crazy as fuck.
when does the human being organism on earth all like be like, whoa, there's more to this. It's not the TV, it's not the games, it's not
Well,
the internet. It's like there's something else.
well, there's something to be said about the political climate and all of the attack your neighbor for this, that, and the other that could be distracting us from all collectively being like, let's figure all this crap out. I don't think that it's for nothing that we have, it seems that the media is trying to start a race war every single day, right? Or they're trying to divide us one way or another. Certainly, some division should take place when it comes to us. Let's say the United States versus countries that want to kill us, right? There should be some division there. But then collectively, as a human species, there seems to be a lot of like hate your neighbor because he's white, or hate your neighbor because he's black, or hate this person because he's mixed, or hate them because of their pink hair, or hate this, hate that, all this sort of stuff. If we could, which I don't think we ever will, but until the new age or the new heaven and new earth is here and Christ is the king of the earth, right? But until that happens, we will never collectively be able to just drop all of this nonsense and just be like, let's figure all this stuff out together. So, as Jeff would say, I think the evolution of the human species, I don't think it can get past where it is now because of how much we don't collectively work together.
That sucks. Because it's cool.
It is
What
cool,
was that? I want to know what that was.
I
What
think
is
that's
that?
by design, man. I would just argue that is by design. If you could look, you could pick out any one thing, right? Oh, the fucking education system just makes us factory workers more stupid, right? Or like
Sure.
the fluoride in the water makes us fucking stupid, or the social media just makes us fucking stupid. Like all these different things. Like you're talking about the social divisions just keep us distracted, right? And you'd be
Yeah.
pissed off at this guy, so you're not pissed off up the ladder, right? And
Right.
it's like, I would just argue that the biggest, like, I would just go back to it, man. Like, the biggest psyop ever perpetrated on humanity is that we're a much older civilization and much more capable than what we're led to believe. Like, this is not the pinnacle. Where we're at now is not the top of the food chain. Like, there's been
Sure.
previous cycles where, like, humans have built fucking 2-kilometer deep mega structures underneath the Great Pyramids, right? Like there was times where we were doing that kind of stuff. So don't let them fool you to think that like this is it.
Yeah, I heard. What were you saying that the Great Wall is facing the wrong way?
Yeah, this is another interesting one. I got to look into this more because I haven't looked into this at all.
Like
I
that,
saw
it
some of the
predates
videos.
China. Like they just found it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the idea is that like if you look at the Great Wall of China, it looks as if like the arrow slits and like the defensive structures on the wall are actually facing into China, as if it was like whoever built that was keeping that side, the Chinese side, out of the other side, I guess the Mongolian side. So it's not as if it's not the way that history's told us that.
Well, that's
China
because
built
of
the
the
Great
giant
Wall.
lizard beasts that were there. I mean, there's that movie, Matt Damon,
There
The
is
Great
that
Wall.
movie with
Yeah.
Matt Damon, and it's terrible. You could tell that's totally him just like giving into the Chinese fucking propaganda machine because they
No,
give him
no,
millions of
it's
dollars.
definitely because of the lizard beasts that were in China.
Yeah. That was a good movie though, despite it being like total Chinese propaganda. But yeah, like the idea that the wall was built the other way around to keep whatever out, you know. This is like some Game of Thrones shit, man. The more I think about all the stuff that's happening, it's like some Skyrim, Game of Thrones level shit, man.
Yeah, dude. It's
got
like
the
you go up to the
wall.
mountain and you're like, oh, there's the big like statue of Azul or whatever. It's like this big thing standing in the mountain with the star, and it's like, whoa, what the heck is that? Where'd that come from? And then you got the big temple over here, and you got the dragon runes buried somewhere else, and it's like, what is that? Now they're back, now they're out. It's almost getting to the point where like we got the aliens, we have the ancient civilizations and the breakaway, and whatever that was.
Mega
We got
structures and shit.
these mega structures and stuff, which just means that we're not alone,
Right.
whether it's spiritual or alien, whatever. We're prime. We're prime for Blue Beam, dude. We're absolutely prime for Blue Beam. But dude,
Blue Beam is coming.
we're prime. The government is giving us all this, saying, "Hey, listen, Blue Beam."
They could
get ready.
literally say we cracked these things open and here's the aliens that came out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
We're
now they're
blue-
in charge of the government. And one
It's
of them's getting loose
all
for
the
it.
preamble.
It's kind of funny, man. Like, you know how like they're revamping all the old nostalgic shit now, right? Like they're bringing back old movies and redoing them, and they're terrible. And like same with games. Like I saw some shit the other day. It was like new deals on PlayStation, and I opened it up, and it's like PlayStation 3 games. They just updated it for PlayStation 5. I'm like, what the fuck is this, bro? Like, give me something new. It's almost like they're doing that with all of the information. Like I'm literally waiting for them to be like, new discovery, we found Excalibur, right? Like in the fucking, like literally, like, no, we actually found Excalibur, like it's real. And be like, what are you fucking talking about, dude? Like,
Yeah. Some lady in a pond threw it at one of the scientists.
right. It's crazy. I don't know, man. But listen, if there is mega structures under that pyramid thing has to be peer reviewed, from what I understand. It hasn't been peer reviewed yet, so they don't know for sure. But listen, if that's there, bro,
I think
you
it's
guys
going
seen
to change some
Prometheus?
stuff.
Oh, we lost Chucky. You seen that movie Prometheus?
Yeah.
And they're like the Greek god looking statue, fucking aliens, and
Yeah. Chiseled
you know,
jawlines.
yeah, and like they
Big
went to the other
noses.
planet. Oh, in the movie, they went to the other planet, right? And they found
Yeah.
the giant cave, and like in there was like the mothership or whatever with like these things in cryo or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But like I would just say that maybe that shit's here on Earth somewhere, right? Like maybe there's somewhere under the pyramid, under Antarctica. I don't know. Like we're gonna stumble across one day, like, oh shit, here's our actual ancestors.
Well, that's what I was
know
going to say. That's why I said maybe that those structures underneath the pyramid is an ark, just like how we have our ark project where they take all of the seeds and all the stuff and all the blood samples from all the animals and all the frozen sperm and eggs and all that sort of stuff, and they've got it buried in a laboratory way down deep in the earth, just in case there's ever like some massive calamity. Maybe it's the exact same thing, but for them. So we're going to crack
Would
that
that
thing
be
open and find
so
species preserved that have been extinct for thousands of years.
It's all going to be dead because humans fucking looted the polished limestone shell off of the pyramid, which was the thing that was, providing the energy to keep the fucking ark underneath the ground at, refrigerative temperatures or some crazy shit like that. And we're gonna find
They
out
peeled
when we
the
get
gold
down
off
there.
of it.
Yeah, we're gonna find out when we get down there, like, damn, we shouldn't have fucking looted the shit because that was what was keeping this thing fucking rolling, man. Like, fucking assholes, dude.
Right?
Shit, dude.
Well, I mean, hey, there's something to be said about being buried that far down. I mean, it is a refrigerator. I mean, at certain levels, it becomes hotter, right? You can't dig
do
so
you-
far down without it getting really
How
hot.
do you build that, dude?
So they
I just
say,
don't
right?
understand.
With picks and shovels, I guess.
Just so we can all look at it again.
That
Yeah, I don't
it's
know, man.
wild,
That's
dude.
crazy, dude. That's pretty wild.
I've put the theory out there on is my connection good? Can you all hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, because I lost it for a minute. I put the theory out there on Shadowband a couple times. Like, there's another book in the Bible, or not in the Bible. There's a book, the Apocalypse, I think, Apocalypse of Adam, where it talks about Adam right after the garden. Because that whole, I mean, that's just, again, there's no record of it. Nothing
Right.
didn't happen, right? I mean, so right after he gets kicked out, like, the whole mess of figuring things out in his human body and all this kind of stuff. It's a horribly.
Hmm.
Oh, you're lagging out, bro.
It's because he's
Lagging
figuring
out,
it
bro.
Sad.
He's figuring it out. That's why.
You're getting lagged, bro. You're getting fucking DDoS attacked. Damn, you hate to see it. You hate to see it, man.
Skeeter says, "Today, Junior."
Fuck you, Skeeter.
Just call it, dude. I'm sorry. We'll do it.
That's all right, bro. It's
I'm
not
lagging.
your fault. Yeah, you're lagging pretty bad, bro. It's pretty rough.
All right, let's go ahead and call it. It's an hour and a half in. Thank you for joining us. It's been another episode of the Infinite Rabbit Hole and the Shadowband podcast coming in for a swap cast. So this episode will be on their station and our station coming up probably
Eventually.
in like a month for us, but for them, probably a lot sooner. I
6
don't know. We'll
months.
see. 6 months. They're stacked. But yeah, it's been a good episode chatting about all this stuff. I know it was in the chats that it was pretty Bible heavy, but that's what happens when you get 3 people together that
Get over it.
more or less believe in the Bible, right? Or at least aspects of it, certainly with Jeff. But yep, y'all take it easy. Join us next time in the next fork in the path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh gosh, he's throwing up his gang signs. The all-seeing eye right here. I'll give you a heart. All right, bye.
Dude,
There
that's
it is.
hilarious.
Just for the haters in the chats that are like, you guys are fucking shells.
Yeah, right.